Hello, and welcome back to Chaos TV.
Hello,
You're
hello.
here with Pudge and Ross.
Hello.
Hope you're enjoying the show so far. So
Indeed.
we are going to jump straight in now. We have a new guest on today's show from an organisation which we've not yet heard of on Chaos TV. We have got Barnardos, who have been protecting children, young people and families for over 150 years.
Wow.
To tell us more about the work they do, we are joined by Nigel Cox, Children's Services Manager. Hello, Nigel.
Hello.
Hi there, Pudge and Ross. It's good to be with you today.
Lovely to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to have you. So,
That's okay.
Nigel, could you begin by telling us a little bit about the work Barnardos do across the Southwest?
Okay, I'll just go back a little bit to what you said at the start there, that you said that Barnardos has been helping children for over 150 years, which it has. And I don't know if your viewers are aware of that actually it was a chap called Thomas Barnardo who was the founder of the organisation that still bears his name. And he started work in London, where he was training to be a medical doctor to go out as a missionary to China. And due to the deprivation and the difficulties that he found children living in on the streets of London at that time, that he felt that God was calling him to actually do that work in London at that time, because Thomas Barnardo was a Christian. And so he actually stayed there and started this work. And as you say, that was over 150 years ago. He set up a ragged school to train boys as it was then, but he then also set up a boys' home, and he set up girls' homes, and he actually set up a whole village for girls, which is in Barkingside, London, and it's where the Barnardos headquarters still is. So that's the sort of very brief potted history of where the organisation came from. And from that start, we have the organisation that we have nowadays that covers the whole of the UK. So there are services being run in England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And as you say, we have services being delivered down here in the southwest. And that's our locality. So our area down in the southwest covers Torbay, Plymouth, Devon, Cornwall, the Channel Islands and the Isles of Scilly. And that's the area that I work in.
Oh, brilliant stuff.
So-
It's got a lovely history to it. I really enjoyed that. And for 150 years to be still going.
Amazing.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that when Thomas Barnardo set up the organisation, it was a radical thing then, because it really challenged the times that were there when actually, if children weren't wanted, they could be left on the streets and nobody really cared about them. But Thomas Barnardo did, and he made a real effort. And he did a massive amount then, and he used what was then the social media of the time in a really positive way. So thinking back 150 years, didn't have Chaos TV, didn't have Twitter, didn't have Instagram, anything like that. But they did have still photographs, and they were just coming into being used then, I believe. And Thomas Barnardo used these to make cards, and he would take photos of the children as he found them on the street, and then he would show a different photo of what they looked like after they'd spent a few months working with him and the staff that he employed to actually learn a trade. So he showed them in rags on one side, and then he showed them doing this trade, maybe as a sort of carpenter. And he printed these as cards and sent them out to people and used these for fundraising. So that was very radical for his time. And I would say that as an organisation, we have kept that radical edge in that the services that we run still support children, and they will actually challenge when things are not in the best interests of children, and we'll do that nationally, but we'll also do that locally as well, where we have services that we run.
That's really amazing to hear that kind of stuff. And like you said so long ago, that would be so out of the blue, so different to what and that's the best way of putting it, I think, to what would have been expected back then. And such an amazing way of utilising the times, like you said, the social media of the times. I really quite like that story. I've seen like the Barnardos logo around before, and I've never had a clue what Barnardos was at all. So now I actually know when I see it, I'm going to be able to think about this lovely history of it.
Yeah, what a man.
Coming back now to more present times, obviously coronavirus, pandemic, lockdown, etc. As far as young people are concerned, has it presented them with new challenges?
I would say that the short answer to that is yes. The pandemic, especially in March and April and the 3 or 4 months following there, that was a massive impact on everybody, but very much so on children and young people, whereas things that they were normally used to just stopped and everybody was stuck at home. And I would say that there were many issues that we saw where children's mental health suffered because they couldn't get out to see friends, they couldn't meet people, they were often stuck inside in the same 4 walls. There were also other things that impacted. So we found that things like domestic abuse increased, and therefore children, if they experienced that, suffered more from that. Where there was abuse of children going on in homes, that was also carrying on, and that was more unseen because there wasn't the same contact that children were having. So those sorts of challenges increased during the lockdown and are still there now. I would say things like the impact on children's mental health is an ongoing issue, that there's still that struggle because we're still not out of this pandemic hit at this moment in time. There are still a lot of restrictions on people, and therefore children can't go out and do the things that they might wish to. And so those sorts of things are impacting on children as well. And in Plymouth, we run a young carers service, and those children who maybe care for a parent who is unable to look after themselves and their children through disability or mental health issues or abuse of substances, or maybe there's a disabled sibling in the household as well. Those children have found that their caring responsibilities have increased during this time as well. So there have been many, many different impacts on children because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely. And it's, like you said, there's so many factors to consider.
Yeah.
The pandemic has affected so many different people in different ways. I want to talk, Nigel, a little bit about a big part of your role is supporting and working with children who are maybe in care or potentially leaving care. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so as I said, our area covers Plymouth, Torbay, Devon, Cornwall. So to talk a little bit specifically about children in care and leaving care, we have a service in Plymouth which is called Care Journeys. And the aim of that service is to ensure that children and young people who have been in care end up being no less disadvantaged than their non-care experienced peers, because research has shown that if a child's been in care, they're less likely to achieve things in the same way and at the same level as their non-care experienced peers. So this service is a partnership with Plymouth City Council, and it's looking at how can we put things in place to ensure that children in care and those leaving care have the same opportunities, have the same support, and are therefore able to achieve similar sorts of things that their peers who haven't been in care would achieve and experience and would maybe see as the expectation. So that's part of the work that we do there. In Cornwall, we have an advocacy service, and this provides a voice for children in meetings that are about them, where there are child protection concerns or if they are a child in care. So this is where we have contact with children in care in Cornwall. And basically, we will receive a referral from the local authority, and they will say that this meeting is taking place. So it could be a child in care review meeting, or it could be a child protection meeting. And we will allocate an advocate to that child who will go and meet with them. And they will explain, if the child doesn't already know, what the meeting's about. And they will then get their views, so what they would like to say to people that are going to be in that meeting. So that could be professionals such as social workers, such as teachers, such as health professionals, such as the police, but also parents as well. And therefore we will ensure that they have a voice that is heard in that meeting. And the way that the meetings are often run is that the child's voice will be heard at the start of this meeting. And it can often be the case that people didn't really know what that child was experiencing and what they were going through, because actually nobody knows someone's situation better than the person themselves. So by hearing that child's voice, it gives a very powerful message that this is what this child is experiencing in this situation. And then that enables the professionals who are working and supporting this child to actually look at how they can best put things in place, primarily to keep that child safe, but also to help them to achieve and to move forward in ways that they would wish to. So that's sort of a large part of what we do with children in care.
I really like how you, like you said, you're giving the children a voice and you give them their chance to speak up about it. You know, where usually a lot of times in life, you imagine what it's like for children. Even these days, you're a second thought as a child. You don't get to feel like you're a priority. It's, the adults are speaking and this kind of thing. They get to actually explain things. And like you said, I can only imagine the type of things you find out just by doing that.
Yeah, it's really, really good because as you alluded to, so often it can be the case that some adults have this view that children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
But the advocates that work with children in this way are there purely for the children. They have no other agenda that is an adult agenda. They are simply there to ensure that the child has their voice heard and that somebody promotes that voice in the meeting as well. So it can mean that if discussions are going on and the advocate's thinking, actually, they haven't listened to what this child said, they'll interject and say, just to remind you, the child said this, but what you're talking about doesn't seem to be taking that into account. So we will make sure that we are there purely for the child. And that can often be a revelation to the children that we work with when we talk to them and they come back and say, so you're just here for me? And you'll say exactly what I want you to say. And it's like, yes, we will do that.
That's lovely.
That can be so empowering for children to hear that there is someone that is there for them and is going to be their voice.
It's almost like an unofficial solicitor for the child. It's quite nice to see that's what you're doing. I want to move slightly to the side now with because obviously fostering and adoption, I believe, is a big part of the work you do with more than 100 years of experience. What support do you offer for those passionate about making a difference?
Okay, so specifically fostering and adoption, that is part of the organisation that is run centrally. So we don't have local services that actually deal with that because that is done via a central hub. So people that are interested in maybe supporting children in that way can go on our website and they'll find links there where they can access and find out more about fostering and adoption. If people locally wanted to be more involved, then we do offer volunteering opportunities. And the advocacy service that I've spoken about is one of the primary services where we rely massively on having volunteers there that are available to work with children and to be their voice. And that can be found via our website as well. There will be links to the service. We also advertise regularly for volunteers on places like Indeed, and on other volunteering websites. So people can actually find out more there. And alternatively, they could actually email me, and I can give an email address that I could pass on, that we can then ensure they get put in touch with the volunteer coordinator in the area so that they can find out more.
Yeah, so we talked briefly at the start of our chat earlier about the power of social media and how advanced things are becoming.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit? I believe there's a project called the Life Labs project that you guys have been working on. If you could tell us a little bit more about that, please.
I can tell you a little bit more, maybe not masses, because that's not a project I'm personally involved in, but that's linked to our Care Journey service in Plymouth, and that's very much around involving young people and using social media to link up young people, but also to ensure that they can get their voices heard, whether that's with each other or whether that's with other organisations, with people within local authorities that need to listen as well. And they use social media in various different ways. But I won't go on too much more on that because I don't know the detail and don't want to give people misinformation.
Fair enough. I believe that's it's working closely with IKEA. Am I right in saying that?
IKEA is part of that. They are an organisation that has gone into a partnership with Barnardos nationally, and therefore there's support that they offer to local services. And this is one of the areas that they are working in with us. And the young people that have been involved in this project have an exhibition that is being shown in IKEA in Exeter at this moment in time, and is going to be there for the next few weeks or months. So if people are in Exeter and want to go into IKEA, they will actually see something that young people from the local area have been involved in, and the work that they have been doing.
Brilliant stuff. Really good to see that such a big company is helping out with something like this.
Yeah, that's not a collaboration you would expect.
No,
but it's brilliant.
So obviously Barnardos is a charity, and I'm sure you look to the public to help support your work. So how can people in general get involved?
Well, as I said, volunteering's one option, or they can give directly to the charity on the website, which is www.barnardos.org.uk. There will be links there that they can give to the organisation, and they can also get in touch with us locally. And if people want to give locally to ensure that the money that they give goes directly to support teams in the area where these people live, then we can actually seek to make that a reality as well. So there's a number of ways there. Other ways that people can support the organisation is through our shops, and that's often one of the ways that many people hear about Barnardos. Often when I say that I work for Barnardos, people come back with saying, "You run children's homes and you have shops, don't you?" And those can be two of the main things. But we have a number of shops in Cornwall and Plymouth. So people can go in there, they can support the organisation by buying things from there, they can take things that can be resold in our shops, and they will also have an opportunity to actually donate there as well. So a number of ways that people can be involved in supporting the organisation. And I suppose one of the things that I would say, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected Barnardos massively, as it has affected many, many other charities.
Of course. In
that with things like the shops being closed, sources of income have not been there for the organisation, and it has been a struggle. And Barnardos has been no different to any other charity. So any support that people wish to give will be very gratefully received. And we ensure that the majority, over 90 pence in the pound, goes towards direct work with children and young people.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Nigel, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you on the programme, and thank you for your time. We will catch up with you again real soon. To leave now, we've got a short clip to give us an insight into how the charity has been changing lives.
I want my home to be an opportunity for me to be able to grow. I want it to be something that I can prosper in.
What I look for is like good support, something that's stable.
From about 4 years old, I was in the care system. The day I moved in, someone said, "You're not moving in, are you? You'll get on everything here."
I was kicked out at 17. Sometimes I'd sleep outside. Sometimes I try to call friends and be like, "Yo, do you have a place I can stay, like just for a day or two?"
I've lived in supported accommodations, I've lived in hostels, and I've lived in emergency accommodations.
I was street homeless for like nearly a year. There was a day where I was just like, I'm gonna have to sleep on the streets tonight. I kept thinking, nah, you'll find something will happen. But then eventually I had to like start really understanding what was going on in my situation.
Rent is actually quite expensive. It's like £50 a week. You just have to decide what's more important, my rent or my food.
It was very hectic. I wouldn't really call it somewhere to live, it was more somewhere to sleep.
I told them I'm not comfortable around guys because it scares me. It really does. It scares me. And they put me in a shared house with 4 different guys. Like, I didn't leave my room. I didn't go to the kitchen. Didn't go to the bathroom.
I want people that are going to be around me that are going to help me be better. There's always someone worse off than you. Look at the bright side, and to kind of be told that repeatedly. If I spent all the time looking at the bright side, I'd go blind.
Young people who have had a difficult life can be influenced. Someone like me who never did drugs, who never drank, can go into a place and then all of that change. I just want to see it get better. I just want to see it grow, and I want to see more support for young people.
But I think, care leavers should be listened to.
We all need to take our responsibility. It's for me, it's for you, it's for these big organisations, it's for the little organisations. If a child does not have a parent that looks after him, it automatically should become the responsibility of our country. They are all our children.
Wow, what a powerful video. So for more information about Barnardos, you can visit their website, which is barnardos.org.uk, or you can search for them across social media.